from now to the end of the season, what do you want to see out of this team? I mean, you've mentioned some of the things, but what's the main thing you want to take out of this season? Is it just school pride? Is it playing for each other, playing for the future, learning life lessons? I mean, what is it that you want to see from your guys from now to the end of the year?
Wow, that's a big question. I think the first thing I want to see out of them is love. And I know that's a weird answer, but I want to see that unconditional love for one another that the scripture talks about,
Mhm.
um, where you would give yourself up for another human being. I think the military, football, a few other things teach that kind of
Mhm.
love. People think we're a violent sport and that we're full of meatheads that don't understand anything, and we're a bunch of dummies. Ian Ramey's a 36 on his ACT, and he'll go to college and become an engineer for free,
Mhm.
and he's an all-state type kid. Um, we're not full of dummies. We're full of good people, and that's every football team in the state.
Yes.
And I want my kids to know what real love is, where you would sacrifice everything you got for another human being. If we can learn that lesson and if they have fun.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Another episode of the Unwired Appalachia podcast. Very special guest, one of my favorite coaches to talk to, East Ridge coach Donnie Burdine. Coach, just kind of talk about the upcoming season. I'm sure you guys have been working hard to get ready.
Yeah, they know what to expect now. So we've got 12 seniors and they hit the ground running as soon as Deb Pier was over, and we've gotten through most of our stuff, and I think they're just ready to play. They just want to play.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got a couple scrimmages coming up, and those are beneficial. Just talk about how beneficial things like that are because you get to see things before the season. You get to work on things, see where some guys might need to work at, or just give yourself I guess a look before the season. I guess just talk about how big that is.
Anytime you can get your ones against somebody else's ones, it's a good thing because it allows you. Sometimes there's a pecking order
Hmm.
on your own team, and you get some of those younger guys out there against some people that they haven't seen before, and it's not like that. So you get to see what they can actually do and make sure they're following their rules and getting their keys and their reads and doing the things that you want them to do. So yeah, we're excited. We're going to take a little trip too. So we got Lewis County.
Yeah.
And the way we scheduled it is we're going to ride up on a Friday and spend the night in a hotel and try and give our kids a little bit of an experience. And then we'll scrimmage on Saturday, a couple teams, one out of Ohio and then Lewis County, and get to see some different offenses and different defenses, see how we react to that, if we can, make our adjustments, our in game adjustments, and things of that nature. So I'm excited to see them.
Yeah. And before we really get into this season, just kind of talk about, I know last season probably didn't, the record wise, probably wasn't what you wanted to see, but you guys fought hard, got better throughout the season, uh, played some really good teams, really tough. I mean, play here and there. That record, instead of being 3-8, could have been 5-6 or 5-4. I mean, just talk about that and seeing these guys fight through it and keep improving. And I thought last year was like a little bit of a adjustment period for you guys. New place, new kids in new spots, and I thought it was a really good season for you guys.
Well, I think back to when I came here and we struggled to compete with Jenkins.
Mhm.
And no offense to Phelps at all, because Phelps has gotten a lot better in the last couple of years. But at
Mhm.
that time, we couldn't beat Phelps.
Mhm.
I think the first time in 5 or 6 years was my first season there, being able to handle Phelps. And this year we were on the field, and we had some glimpses against some really good football teams.
Yes.
We lost our quarterback in week 3, and Harlan County's a really good. I think they finished 7-3 last
Mhm.
year in 4A football, and when he went out, we were up 14-12, and we just struggled to score from there on, and we had to totally change what we were trying to do on offense, and it threw a little bit of a wrench into the plan, and we had to work through that. And I enjoy that kind of stuff, though. I mean, our kids, they embrace it and they work hard, they do the things they need to do. But yeah, you're right. I felt like last year we showed up and we played and we fought for some respect. And I think some people now understand when they have to play Eastridge that they're going to get a game. They may beat us. We're okay with that. We look at, are we getting better every week? And are we better than the year before? And has our program taken another step? And I think anybody that looks at our strength of schedule, which got us into the playoffs, by the way,
Yes.
last year,
Yes.
our strength of schedule is completely different than what it was at any point in the past, even all the way back to the first couple of years. Now I know they played Belfry a long time ago, but we play Belfry now, and we're still getting the same results with that team, unfortunately, but we're working on it. That's a different animal in and of itself. So, but outside of Belfry and Prestonsburg, who has really upped their game in the last couple years. I mean, anybody would say that they've got to be one of the top 4 or 5 teams in 2A football. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
And then we played another top 4 team in 2A football last year in Somerset, and another one in Belfry. I mean, that's a tough schedule for a little old tiny school on the side of a mountain like Eastridge. So we're pretty proud of the fact that we walk on the field and we compete, and that's all you can ask from kids. And I think if you're, what are you doing? What are you coaching football for? What are you playing football for outside of a championship? There's so many lessons, life lessons that you can learn from the game. And we're not one of those teams. We're a rural public school who, nobody's ever going to pick us to win a 2A championship. So I have to teach my kids a lot of other things that to make the journey worth taking. And I think we've done that. And I think they really, really enjoy playing for Eastridge. And I enjoy coaching.
Yeah, and that just sparked so through my head. That journey, what is that thing that makes that journey worth taking for you and your kids over there? Is it just a brotherhood? Is it to develop relationships? Is it to develop discipline? What do you, or is it maybe a combination of all of that?
So for me as a coach, it's different than maybe it is for my players. You would have to ask them, why do they tough it out? Why do they enjoy it so much? Why do they come back? But here's the things that when I first started coaching, I looked around and I saw in the state of Kentucky, and this is no offense to anybody, but in the state of Kentucky, we're a very uneven playing ground. You got your independent schools, you got your parochial schools, you got your private schools. And if you look at the state championships, most of the time those schools are the ones that win a state title. So when you look at that, you say, we more likely than not, we're probably not going to win a state title. So what can I teach my kids that they can carry with them for the rest of their lives? And I think back, and I think when I first started this journey, I wanted our kids to understand anywhere I've coached that it's not about the win or the loss; it's about the fight.
Mhm.
It's about being able to stand up for yourself, defend your territory, say, "This is the line in the sand, and I'm gonna protect it with everything I got." Sometimes you get beat,
Mhm.
sometimes you don't, but I think the glory comes from the battle, and I think our kids buy into that. And I think if you've watched us over the past 5 or 6 years, you can see them buying into it more and more and more. And, we like to take football and teach life,
Mhm.
character. That's really important for me. We have someone come in every week and speak to them about character every single week during the season. We have a team meal together every Thursday. Um, and I want them to experience. I want them to know they're winners
Mhm.
in life. To be a winner in life, you got to keep getting up every day and go to work. And I want them to be those kind of dads, and I want them to be those kind of people. I want them to understand that no matter how tough the odds are, you have no shot if you don't get up and go to work. And so they get up and they go to work, and that's what I enjoy about coaching places like this. Um, and then for me personally, like on a deep level, it's about growing men.
Mhm.
And then it's about the second thing it's about is saying, hey, we can produce football players anywhere. So when you look at our roster, you've got Ian Ramey. I don't know if you know this, but he was a all-state candidate this past season, honorable mention as a defensive tackle. I think this year we had 8 or 9 guys make the all mountain team.
Yep.
I mean, it was a lot.
And Talon Jordan, I believe, was one of the player of the year, candidates for us.
He was
Yep.
one of the player of the year candidates. And when you look at talent, when I look at talent, I feel like he could be a candidate again this year for player of the year. And, he depending on how well this offense that we're in works,
Mhm.
who knows? He could be a dark horse for 2A uh, district player, and he could be a dark horse for an all-state type position. So, we're throwing out good football players.
Yes.
I don't know that people realize that, but we've been pumping out good football players for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
we just don't have as many as Belfry or Pikeville.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are in that category, but they're the tradition teams for tradition teams. I mean, you're building. I believe I see that each year. It feels like the community's buying in. Seems when you first got up there, you brought a lot of excitement to the sports, not just football, but it seems like it's bleeding over into hires with basketball, softball, different things. It seems like there's a new excitement the last 2, 3 years up there. Would you say that was a safe, assumption, a safe, thing to say? Because, I mean, it's not just one thing I think is going on up there. It seems like a lot of excitement, or can you speak on that a little bit differently from your view? Because to me, on the outside looking in, it seems like there's a lot of excitement in sports up at East Ridge right now.
Well, first of all, I'm honored that you would think that that has anything at all to do with me. So again, I think it's awesome that you would think I have something to do with it, but I believe it's a community effort. I believe after the floods, the 2 floods we had,
Mhm.
and everybody pulling together, we worked really hard on our test scores as an entire school, and I think that brought us closer together. And then I think just believing in our kids, telling our kids, we believe you can be successful, and bringing a different kind of attitude may have helped a little bit. And like I said, we got new administration that really believes in our kids too. And so all that combined is making for a really, really nice change
Mhm.
in our school. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm glad you think I had a little bit to do with it, whether I did or not.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, outside looking in, it seems like that's one of the things that was a spark for it, maybe to me. Now, I don't know. Everybody's got their own perspective, but uh, before we get really into the season and the team this year, last year your son and a couple former other players started helping you. Just talk about that if you can. I think that's a very cool dynamic that you two are coaching together, and even some of your other former players who are young guys were out there. I mean, I think that's really cool. Usually the program starts taking steps forward once they start getting former players coming back and helping. Just talk about how much that meant to you, to not just seeing your son, but a couple other guys out there helping as well who used to play for you.
Well, I felt like we needed to get a little younger in our coaching staff. Um, Knowledge wasn't very, and there wasn't a very high level of football knowledge when I came up on the mountain, or at least I didn't feel like there was. And so these guys have played for me. They know what my expectations are. They know what I want, and they can go out and execute that. So that was nice.
Mhm.
It's nice. I was in camp the other day. It's nice sitting in a chair and watch them work for a
Mhm,
minute.
mhm.
See those young guys out there working. So I've really enjoyed that. The dynamic of having that young blood on there, and the kids being excited because I mean you can get stale, you can get old. They can stop hearing you if you're not careful. And those young guys, they give me energy too. They make me want to outwork them, and so I don't have to worry about slowing down any because they're young and full of energy. My boy's getting ready to get married tomorrow, actually. So,
Wow.
we've been there doing some painting and stuff like that today on his house, and he's getting ready to get married, and he'll be on honeymoon for the next 8 or 10 days, but then he'll be back with us. So we gotta go to this scrimmage without him, and kids, uh, the kids will have to put up with me for the night, but then he'll be back, and CJ's back with us, and CJ does a great job. Another young man that played at East Ridge, it's a good kid, and well, he's not a kid, he's a dad, but to me, he's a kid 'cause I'm old. But yeah, that has changed the dynamic of our football team. Kids like to play for those guys, and they like to be around those guys. And those guys all see football different than I do. You know, they're 30 years younger than I am. So things to them are a little bit different. And they're always coming to me saying, Coach, what about this? Coach, what about that? Most of the time I'm like, no, guys, we don't do that for a reason. But every once in a while I'm like, hey, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. And we take that stuff and we run with it. So it's been refreshing. It kind of gave me new energy last year, and it's probably what brought me back one more year for this season. I felt like at the beginning of the year last year, it might be my last season. We lost Canaan, and I enjoyed coaching with those young guys so much that I was like, I got another year or two left in me. So we're back again. We're gonna see what we can do.
Yeah, being back again, it seems like you returned most of your roster. Always a plus because, graduation usually hits a lot of teams hard. Seems like it didn't hit you as hard as maybe some other teams, especially, around here. I believe what 2 or 3, maybe 2 or 3 guys if you lost from last year, if that. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot that I was looking at the roster and trying to figure out. Wasn't a whole lot. Just talk about how big of a plus that is because that very rarely happens.
Well, we'll think of it this way. Last year, you said that you were impressed by us. You thought we were competitive in most every game we stepped on the field. Our kids fought hard. We were a player or two away from winning some really big games.
Hmm.
Um, Now imagine we have one senior, one,
One, okay. I
and
knew it was 1 or
he
2
was a
for
stud.
yes,
Morgan Sloan is a great
yes.
football player, and he did a lot for us. But he was also played out of position to be able to do a lot for us because we were so shorthanded at times. Um, when I look at this roster, I think that quite possibly may be the best roster, um, at least in recent Eastridge history. Now, I'm sure if you go back when there were 1,000 kids in the school and the first few teams, they had a lot more bodies, probably had more talent. But this is the best team that I've ever had. Um, Felt like last year's team had a real good shot of being that until we lost the quarterback and couldn't do some things on offense we wanted to do. If you go back and look, we hit a little offensive lull right there in the middle of the season until we figured out what we could and couldn't do with what the personnel that we had. Um, and you take off a really, really good athlete off the field.
Mhm.
Kana Ramey is as good an athlete as anybody in the region. And so I'm excited to see what this group does. I think I counted yesterday, we started 4 or 5 freshmen last year too.
Mhm.
And the best thing about a freshman is he becomes a sophomore. And so those guys are a little older, a little stronger. They've been in the weight room. We got us a brand new weight room up at Eastridge that we put in this past season and opened it up in January. And the kids have worked really hard and they respect that we went out and worked for them to get stuff done and they're in there working hard. So those 4 it's 4 or 5. Those 4 or 5 kids are now sophomores. We don't have to start a single freshman this year. We're gonna be sophomore, juniors, and seniors on the field,
Mhm.
which is the first time that's happened since I've been here. I feel like, we have 12 seniors, maybe 14. I can't keep it straight, but I think we got 12. We have 12 seniors, and, every one of those guys that's a senior has played football at least a year or 2.
Mhm.
And, we got a couple back that had fallen by the wayside and then asked to come back, and we were like, "Yeah, get on in here." Shane Bishop's one of them. He started for me as a freshman, caught a couple touchdown passes, was a good outside linebacker for a freshman. You know, he missed his junior year, and now he's back as a senior. He's a great addition. Anytime you put a senior on the field that's played football, it helps. And we have competition. That's the most important thing. we go out there and we don't just run over top of the scout team. What
Yeah.
makes Pikeville better every single week, what makes Belfry better every single week is they have 50, 60 kids they can throw out there on the field, and so your ones and your twos are so close that they're battling for positions all the time, and you get great intense practices.
Mhm.
That's something that we can't emulate,
Mhm.
but we're better at it today than we ever have been. So I'm excited about our roster.
Yeah, well, offensively, a lot of stuff that you all do starts up front. You got all those guys up front. Just talk about what a relief that is. I mean, and then, we mentioned Talon having the kid like that run the ball back, and then you get it seems like, that the offense should be pretty good early on. I mean, just kind of talk about that if you can, because that's, I mean, anytime you get any, don't use linemen, that is a luxury.
Yes, and that's 100% truth. We lost our best lineman last year was, probably Morgan or Ian,
Mhm.
but we had to take Morgan early and slide him to the backfield for a blocking back, and so that gave Ian the confidence, which he was a great player already, but it gave Ian the confidence to understand, "Hey, this is my line," and he's a great leader up there. So you've got Ian Ramey, who's a senior up there. You've got Caden McCoy, who's a senior up there. Dan's on the backside. He's a senior. Daniel Allen. At center, I got Jacoby Gibson. He's a senior. And he's a tough little baseball player too,
Yes.
Jacoby is.
Yes.
And he wanted to play blocking back, and I wanted him to play blocking back, but he's just too valuable up there. I mean, he's so good at that. Very seldom can you find a high school kid that can snap it and pull at the same time. And I got a couple plays where he can snap and pull too. And that's really nice when your center can do that. Jacoby can directional snap. He's a good, solid football player. And then at right guard, the only underclassman I have between my tackles is J Dog, and he's Jacob Coleman, and he's a big, he's 300 pounds, and he's got a chest like a grown man, and he's worked really hard in the weight room. He's picked up a little bit of speed, which is probably his weakest department is the speed department. And so we've got every guy across the front has played 2 or 3 years of high school football. Now, we're still not as physical and as strong as I would like. If you go look at Bull County or even Pikeville, the only 300 pounders you see on their line are 6'4".
Mhm.
Mine are 5'10", 5'11". I gotta use what I got, right? Um, and usually those, really good guards look like linebackers or fullbacks. We're not quite there, but we're getting better, and we look more like a traditional football team than we have in the past, and I really love that offensive line. During camp, their holes were beautiful, their lanes were perfect. They worked really hard for me, and they'll continue to get better. We need next week and the week after to get in that live fire and correct all the mistakes that we're gonna make, but those guys look really good.
Yeah, and just kinda talk about having, Talon back. I mean, he had a tremendous year. You got some other guys around him too that had really good years. Some speed in that backfield, some gives you some options back there too with those guys. Just talk about, having those guys back, because, if Talon just repeats what he does last season, he's gonna have another huge season. So, I mean, just kinda talk about that if you can.
Well, I think his 100th time this year in track was, and we didn't get to a lot of track events. Our track's been damaged for a while, and we're trying to get that replaced, so we can host some home events and work a little harder at that. But our, our track finishes were like 3rd in the region, for Talon. There was a kid at Shelby Valley that was a little faster, not a whole lot, but I mean, he was smoking. He was a 10.8 kid or something, 10.7. Um, but Talon's right there.
Mhm.
I think his best recorded time of the year was 11:02, and his 40 is even faster. That's where his speed is. He's got a couple camp times in the 4.41 hand time
It's
range.
moving. Yeah.
Yeah, now that's not laser,
Yeah.
obviously, but
Still moving.
that's
Yeah.
still college camps,
It's still
college
moving.
camps, when they clock you to 4.41, they walk up and give you a scholarship offer, and he's got a handful of those already. So people figured out that Talon's got that kind of speed to play at the next level, and when you have that kind of speed and you've got a line that can open up a hole, anything's possible. He pops through one of those clean, and it's gonna be hard for anybody in this region to catch him.
Yeah.
He just gotta get that first 5 or 6 steps, and that's the deal. Can we create those 5 or 6 steps for him? But then it's gonna be really hard for everybody to key on Talon when right beside him is Kanan Ramey, and this year was his freshman year coming off of a broken leg, and he ran track for me, and he's about 11.4 right now. So 11.4, 11.3 in his last couple recordings that we had there at practice. He's a little bit slower than Talon, but he's sub 4.7 and in a 40-yard dash, hand time. But you're talking about everybody hand times around here. When they say their kid's a 4.6, they're talking about a hand time.
Yeah.
He's sub 4.7 on a hand time. But I don't think either one of those guys are going to be the guy that you need to look out for, because I think every defense that we play are going to say, we've got to stop Canaan or we've got to stop Talon. And so I look for the defense to be overloaded to wherever they think one of those two boys are going to run the ball. And Aiden Mullins is going to have a great year.
Yes.
Everybody forgets about him. He's smaller, not quite as fast,
Mhm.
still fast, still fast. For
Yes.
Eastridge is really fast. But he's quick too. He can make a cut on a dime, and he has pretty good vision. He's a lot stronger than he was. He's a little older, so he'll be a little tougher. That just comes with age. I look for Aiden to have a good year. Silas is back as a sophomore. Last year as a freshman, he made a great blocker for us last year. Uh, looked like uh, looked like a young deer running a route. He legs everywhere, flopping everywhere. But he's continued to grow, and he's gotten stronger, and his routes are cleaned up a little bit. I look for him to have a good year. He may not have a ton of touches, but when he gets a touch, I think he's going to do the most with it. We just feel like Cole. Cole's like a workhorse. You forget about Cole. Cole Ratliff he's played for me since he was a freshman, and he's going to play our Z receiver. And sometimes we'll jump out of that single wing now that we've got Kanan back into a spread look, and Town will be stacked beside him. And I'm just wondering if you close Talon down, what are you going to do about Cole?
Yeah.
Because Cole can run too.
Yes.
And I think if there's one thing that impresses me about this team is we don't have a lot of offensive linemen, but we got
Yeah.
experience. And then in the skill players, I've got a ton of skill players.
Yes.
I've got more probably than I've ever had.
Yeah.
Dylan's team was the last team that had a lot of skill.
Yeah.
And I feel like this team may not be as good in the first man or two, and maybe they are. We'll find out this year. But from 1 through 8, we're much better than that team. So this is going to be an exciting year. Now, like I tell our boys, everybody else gets a chance to get better too.
Mhm.
And just because you're better doesn't equal wins. You got to go out and earn those one at a time. And things can happen in the course of a game, change an entire football game. Last year we had Leslie County down, I want to say 21-8 or 21-7 midway through the third quarter, and run out of gas and turned the ball over a couple times, and they stormed back and beat us. We had Shelby Valley down at the start of the fourth quarter last year. I think it was, I don't know, 30-20 something, and
Yeah.
they ended up beating us 38-30 or something in that fourth quarter. We had an injury to Jacoby,
Mhm.
our starting inside linebacker and center. We had a couple bad snaps, turned the ball over. They get a cheap, easy score off that, and we can't come back from it. So there's always those types of drama that play themselves out on a Friday night.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I think this is a dandy little football team.
Yeah. Yeah, and, we talked a lot about the offense. Defense, continuity back as well. I mean, that's always a plus there. A lot of versatility. You mentioned those guys on offense. I think they're versatile on offense. They're versatile on defense. So you got some of these guys, they can cover, they can come up and stop the run. Just kind of talk about your defense because you ask them to do quite a bit out there sometimes.
Well, maybe I asked them to do too much sometimes. If there's been an Achilles heel since I've been here, it's been on the defensive side of the ball. We all know that. But I say that's because the defensive side of the ball has to be strong, physical, aggressive. They have to know football. They have to
Mhm.
know their keys. They have to know their reads. They have to know their fit. Um, they need to know all the blitzes. And not only that, but the other team knows where they're going and you don't. So you got to be, honestly, you got to be a little bit better. And I can scheme a touchdown. I can't scheme a stop very often.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm just a bad defensive coordinator, but I struggle with trying to scheme stops on really good football teams.
Mhm.
How do you scheme a stop on Belfry? Um, Ask him to play with six, I guess. But when I look at this defense, one thing I can say is we went back to the 3-4 because of what you said. We have a lot of utility players that can do multiple things. And I feel like if we've had an Achilles heel, and we got faster last year, but it's speed. We struggle on the defensive side of the ball with if we go big, we can slow you down in the middle, but we can't stop the edges. If we go quick, we can stop the edges, but we struggle in the middle. Um, and experience has a lot to do with that too. But we got two kids back at inside linebacker that played a little bit for us last year. Actually, one of them played a lot. Connor Grizzle played quite a bit towards the end of the season. And he had growing pains and he missed a lot of fills, but he's learned a lot. And I feel like he's going to come along really well. Beside him is Eli Stevens, and I would say Eli Stevens probably one of the top 2 or 3 workers in that class as far as the weight room. He's 175, 180 pounds. We're not real big on the inside, um, but we're versatile. We can run. They'll fill the gap. We decided to go quicker on the defensive line too. So we took our linebacker Jacoby, moved him up the nose so we can have. He's tough. He'll fill a hole. He's got that first good quick step. So we're going to use him at nose. We got Ian Ramey an all-state consideration at defensive tackle. We're going to leave him at that big tackle spot, and we're going to use a outside linebacker type at the weekend. We're going to get. I feel like I got 6 linebackers on the field, counting my nose, my weekend, and my 4 backers. So we feel like those guys are faster.
Mhm.
And then you got Talon at safety, and Stewart's back at safety, and Cole's back at corner. And a kid that nobody got to see last year that is an absolute dynamite cornerback is Rylan Hamilton. He played a little bit of baseball this year. He's always played baseball. Come out last year, played football, broke his collarbone. So
Man,
yeah, we had some injuries that a lot of people don't
yeah.
don't even know about. We had 2 broken collarbones, and we had a couple groin pulls, and then Morgan halfway through the season dislocated his shoulder. He kept playing. They did what they could with it, but when I look at Ryland's got a chance to be a lockdown corner. He's very, very fundamentally solid. He's fast, athletic. So our secondary, I feel like, is probably the best part of our defense. Those 4 kids, 3 of them were started all year last year. 2 of them been starting for 3 years, and Talon and Cole. Um, Stewart made his first defensive starts for varsity football last year as a junior, but he did really well. He graded out as good or better than the other 2 kids. So we feel like our secondary is pretty solid. We feel like our linebacker core is a little undersized.
Mhm.
We look like high school kids. We're 5'9" to 6 feet tall, 162 to 190 pounds. And that's what we are in the linebacker core. But, most real 2A public high schools look like us.
Yeah.
Um, and then you got the others, but for us, I mean, we look pretty good. And Ian Ramey really makes a difference at that defensive tackle spot. And we feel like we took them to a little lineman challenge up at where were we? Raceland. Up at Raceland during the 7-on-7. They finished third out of all the schools there. The bad part is Raceland's ones and twos beat us.
Rice is
Yeah,
pretty good.
there's 62 kids on a 1A roster. What do you think about that?
It's pretty
But
good. Just getting into the season. I mean, Oklahoma Morgan County. You know what it is to prepare and get ready for district. I mean, just kind of talk about your schedule and you know how you open and how you hope to get better each week. And because you know those district games are so important. And there's you know it seems like it's a big district this year. You know it's what 5 teams. I mean that's every game's crucial.
So when I look at our schedule, what I tried to do is I knew these kids would be, you know, that my big group of seniors would be this year. People said, "Why you play Somerset in a bowl game?" Well, they paid me a lot of money for one thing,
Mhm.
but the second thing is I knew the next year we got Clay County, and Clay County is a good football team. They're well coached,
Yes.
but they're more our level. You
Yes.
know, they're a rural county school like we are. They're a 2A, 3A program. They may be 3A right now, but if they I think they're dropping down to
Yeah.
2A next year. So, when I look at Clay County, I see about the same kind of school that we are, who's been relatively good the last 5 or 6 years with coach.
Mhm.
And so when I look at that game, I say we start with Morgan
Mhm.
and Morgan plays a spread. They're dangerous. They run triple option and veer option, and they present some things that makes us better defensively. And we played well against Morgan defensively the past 3 years. Um, but Morgan County's dangerous. They score a lot of points, except for when they most of the time when they play us, they struggle a little bit. And I don't know why that is, but they are one of those teams that if you're not sharp, they beat you.
Yeah.
You got to come out, you got to play sharp, you got to play physical, and you got to play your brand of football, or they beat you. And so that's a good test for us. That's a game that I feel like, you know, if we play up to our capabilities, we'll be okay.
Mhm.
Then we go on the road to that bowl game with Clay County that I was talking about. Clay County's like a step up for us with Morgan. So we got to take that next step. We get over there in an unfriendly environment, 3 hours from home, hot. They got probably 10 or 12 more kids on the roster than we do.
Mhm.
We're going to have to be physical. We're going to have to play our brand of football. We're going to have to stay excited. We're going to have to limit turnovers. And I feel like if we do that, there's another chance to win a ball game. And so you got the potential to open up the season 2-0.
Mhm.
And then we travel to Harlan County, and nobody expects us to be Harlan County. You know, they're 4A football or 7-win football team from last year. We got nothing to lose in that ball game, but here's what we got to gain. We can go in there and fight like dogs and take care of the football and look up at the end and see who wins. And if we were to pull a game like that out and start the season 3-0, you never know where this team can go.
Absolutely.
Belief is the best thing
Mhm.
in sports. Teams, I'd rather believe I'm good as be good.
Mhm.
I'm just being honest with you, because I've seen a lot of good teams lose faith early and be a horrible football teams.
Yes.
Same thing happens in basketball. They take a few losses they're not supposed to. They start second guessing themselves. They start doubting themselves,
Mhm.
and pretty soon, 2 losses turn into three, and three turn into six, and you've lost your season. Same thing happens when you win games you're not supposed to win. If you go out and beat a Harlan County and you start out 3-0, then you got a shot to play with a Prestonsburg because your kids believe they can't be beat. And that's what it's all about, that faith, that belief in one another and in what we're doing. So my belief is the schedule needs to have teams on it that look like what you're going to play in district. And so Harlan County, I think they beat us and Shelby Valley last year, if I'm not
Yeah, they
mistaken,
did.
and pretty close to the same score. When I look, I see a Harlan County team that is good, that's supposed to be better than us, and if we can rise up and play with or beat a team like that, our kids walk away even if we don't win.
Mhm.
You know, you walk out of that game, I don't know, 35-21, and you're Eastridge playing a 4A football team that was 7-3 last year, I think our fans would be okay with that. Our kids won't because they want to win.
Yeah.
Their coach won't because he wants to win. But I think our fans would respect the work that we put on the field, and I believe it would make us better for the next week. Um, at Prestonsburg, not as dominant as Belfry, but a very good team the last, 3 years in a row. totally different animal than they were when I first got here. And, I probably missed my chance to get one on those guys, at home a few years ago,
Yeah,
but
you had them on the ropes there.
yeah, we did, didn't we? But they got away. Tradition is something beautiful to have. So when I look at Prestonsburg, I see the same quality of team, whether they're better or not, as Belfry.
Mhm.
Same quality. Pikeville's on the schedule because they're the same quality of team. Pikeville's a scrimmage. Coach has been really good to me and my kids, and he's gracious enough to come up to our place again this year. He's a heck of a guy. He's a heck of a guy. Super nice. Answers any questions I have all the time. Um, you couldn't find a better coach, human being
Yes.
than him. And, he's gracious enough to come up and beat up on us a little bit and not kill us and let us learn from that. And once we played Prestonsburg, we stepped back a little bit. So to me, Prestonsburg pushes you and says, "How good are you?" And you find out where your biggest weaknesses are.
Yeah.
Then you get Leslie County, who's a good football team,
Yeah.
but not Prestonsburg right now.
No.
And it gives you a chance to work on some things that week and see if you can go beat a good football team after you played a great one.
Mhm.
And, you know, it all is set up that way to prepare us for district. And our kids know that. And our kids know that, it's going to hurt my pride if we're 1-4 in the first 5 ball games, but it's not going to deter me from trying to win our district.
Yeah.
Everything we do is set up to be able to perform the best that we can perform in our district. And so our kids played the first half of their schedule last year, and they looked at the second half and they said, "There's nobody on there that scares me anymore."
Mhm.
You know? Um, Now we took a beating from Belfry, but I think that's the only one we took in the second half of the season. And our kids are not afraid to walk on the field with anybody right now. And I think that's what having a tough schedule does for you. You remember me saying very few teams ever win a state title. Very few.
Very few.
If we went through and looked, I'd say 10 teams have won 80% of the state titles in this state, maybe 12.
Yeah.
12 teams, 15 at the most. What is there, 200 and some odd
Yeah, something
high
like that.
schools in this state? So, I mean, 250 of us or 260 of us are not going to win a state title. So, what can you get out of a season? You got two philosophies. You can play a whole bunch of cupcakes, run your record up to 5-0, play your district and be 6-4 or 5-5, not make the playoffs in this district because there's 5 teams,
Yes.
and go home and watch. Or you can be 3-7 or 4-6. Maybe you're really good that year and you're 6-4 because you played a super tough schedule. You beat a team or two you're not supposed to, and you earn your way in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you look back and you say, okay, this team did it this way, and we did it this way, and we're in the playoffs and they're at home.
Yeah.
And our kids learn from that. They say, hey, maybe coach is right. Maybe the easy way is not the right way. Maybe doing things the hard way, the right way is the most important thing. And so that's kind of the what reason we put our schedule together the way we do also.
Yeah, and I think that probably leads into this next question with that regular season and a district. Say you get the cross district and you say you're a 2 or 3 seed. Playing the competition that you've played beforehand, you'd have to believe you've got a chance to win a playoff game, whether you're at home or on the road. If you're at home, certainly you'd have to, believe you got a good chance. If you're on the road, even if you're a 2 or 3 seed, you playing the Belfries, playing the Peaburgs, playing all these teams, it probably gives you a little bit of extra belief in yourself once you're in the playoffs, once you make that spot. Just talk about that if you can.
Well, first of all, we need to stay out of the 4 spot.
Yeah.
Got to stay out of the 4 spot.
Yeah, that's a tough
Let's
one.
be honest. We have to stay out of the 4 spot. If we're in 3-2, we got a chance to win in the next round. And that's no slight to Martin County. That's no slight to Floyd Central or anybody else. But right now, Prestonsburg's on a different level than the rest of the teams in their district until they show me they can get back to that level. So when I look at the sister district, you got Leslie, you got Floyd Central, You got Prestonsburg, you got Martin County. Am I missing anybody? Not.
No,
Not.
yeah,
Not. So you got 5 and somebody's gonna stay home, and more than likely, unless, somebody gets injured or something, Prestonsburg should finish 1 over there. Just like people are gonna say Belfry's gonna finish 1 in our district. We're not slighting any of the
no,
teams in either district, we're just being real.
yes, yes.
So you should have Prestonsburg as a 1 and Belfry as a 1. And what I would love to be able to do with this team, I've been fighting for it ever since I got here, is to win a playoff game. This school was 20 some years old, never had a playoff win.
Mhm,
And I'm almost positive, and I don't want to slight Brad Allen because he's a great football coach, but I'm almost positive we only got 1 winning season when playing within a district. It was a 5-5 or a 6-4 record. And we put up a 5-5 record a couple years ago and had one heck of a battle with Floyd Central for that first round playoff game, but we lost. I think if that's at home, if we're the 2,
mhm,
we win that game. So our kids really, really, really want to host a home playoff game. Like that's our senior going away gift
mhm,
to our fans
yeah,
is can we host a home playoff game, which requires a lot. Shelby Valley just hired a brand new coach and
mhm,
he's had success everywhere he's been. And, he's Coach Riley's known for putting up tons of points and doing a great job. And he's a great guy. And they're going to be better than they were last year. That's one of those teams where you're probably not as bad as you think you are, but you took so many beatings early
mhm,
that the wheels came off. That's a
yeah,
good football team last year.
yeah. Pretty rough schedule, pretty bad circumstances, yeah.
And just got in over their heads, scheduled a little too much.
Mhm,
Couldn't handle the pressure from the schedule and thought they were worse than maybe they were. Because I thought they were a good little football team,
mhm,
and I thought they proved that in our district play. You've got Shelby Valley, who's gonna be better, I think. Pike Central just hired a new coach, they'll be better. Um, so we're Betsy Lane, their quarterback last year is a little freshman who is unbelievable. You know, coach is gonna have him throwing that ball all over the yard, right? That's his boy too.
yeah.
He's gonna be running those stats up. So, I mean, we believe it or not, we have a tough district. I don't believe
Yes, we do.
people understand how good our district is. Now, again, we're not Belfry level, but the rest of our teams are on close to the same level as the other side. So I think whoever finishes second and hosts that home playoff game is going to have a real shot to move on to the next round.
Yeah.
And when you move on to the next round, I'm pretty sure you might get to skip one of those other 2 teams. I don't know, I haven't looked, but it would be nice, wouldn't it, to get away from one of those 2 guys. But, so that's our goal. We're just trying to be one of the best 16 teams in the state.
Yeah, I'll end it like this, I guess. Throw out the records, throw out all that stuff. I know you want to win the playoff. You want to win every game. That's obvious. From now to the end of the season, what do you want to see out of this team? I mean, you've mentioned some of the things, but what's the main thing you want to take out of this season? Is it just school pride? Is it playing for each other, playing for the future, learning life lessons? I mean, what is it that you want to see from your guys from now to the end of the year?
Wow, that's a big question. I think, the first thing I wanna see out of them is love, and I know that's a weird answer, but I wanna see that unconditional love for one another that, the scripture talks about,
Mhm,
um, where you would give yourself up for another human being. I think, the military, football, a few other things teach that kind of
mhm,
love. People think we're a violent sport and that we're full of meatheads that don't understand anything. And, we're a bunch of dummies. Ian Ramey's a 36 on his ACT and he'll go to college and become an engineer for free.
mhm.
And he's an all state type kid. Um, we're not full of dummies. We're full of good people. And that's every football team in the state.
Yes.
And I want my kids to know what real love is, where you would sacrifice everything you got for another human being. If we can learn that lesson and, if they have fun, like, just have a blast. It's hard to have fun if you're losing, so we need to win more than we lose. That'd be really nice too. Win more than we lose, and, have fun and learn to love. If we can do those things, heck, that's about as good a season as any coach in the state will have.
Absolutely. I think that's a perfect way to end this one, Coach. Well, we'd love to have you on if, say, in the middle of the season, you want to come on, give us an update, how things are going.
You just tell me, man. If
Yeah,
we beat somebody we're not supposed to, give me a call.
absolutely. For Coach Donnie Burdine, for Corey Vance, I'm Randy White. I'm Unwired Appalachian. I think we got most coaches for the Pike County Bowl stuff. Well, for our other papers, Floyd County, Mingo, and what is the, the Hazard? Those coaches we'll be trying to get up with if we haven't got up with you yet. So we'll see you later.